Good morning. Today I'm going to show you how to smoke a full packer brisket because Richard is cooking again. So I have this beautiful whole packer brisket that I got from Costco. It is a USDA prime piece of meat and it's gorgeous. It's got great marbling even in the leaner flat part versus the fattier point, but that's got great marbling too. I'm really looking forward to making this. This is for my friends Adam and Judith. So guys, this is for you. And normally what I would do is I would season it with my salt, pepper, garlic mixture, but Adam doesn't like garlic, so that's gone. So I'm just going to keep it very simple, Central Texas style, kosher salt and coarse ground black pepper, and we are just going to coat this all together. There are lots of different ways to do this. If I had an offset smoker, I would be doing a lot of trimmings to make it very aerodynamic for the airflow and everything. I have a drum smoker that I built myself, and it's got a different kind of an airflow, and so it kind of goes up, around, and down. So I'm going to put this on my smoker. I'm going to do a little bit of trimming, but not a ton, and I'm going to put the fat side down first, and we're going to let this go until it's cooked. I've been letting this sit out to get close to room temperature because it's a big piece of meat, and we don't want to put it on a smoker with this being cold, because then it'll take a lot longer for the insides to cook and the outsides will get a little bit more crispy. Don't want that. So anyway, make sure that you use if you're smoking something, always make sure you use a good meat thermometer. Makes it very idiot proof. Let me show you how to do it. All right, so what I did, I took this out of the package, patted it dry. Make sure you have yourself a sharp knife, and I'm going to cut off any of the excess trimmings, things that are going to be sticking out and possibly burning up. And I'm going to save all of this to render down as beef tallow because I use that in my cooking. So this whole piece is fat. All right, I'm going to trim some of this off. I do want to get the smoke through the fat. Make sure you don't cut towards yourself. I'm saving all of that fat. And that's really what I do want to do, is make sure that some of the anything like some of the silver skin, this big chunk of fat, gets taken off. That goes. I'll take some of the silver skin off, and I'll do some trimming for some of that and clean that up. And that's basically how I trim a brisket. So I'll get to work on this. I'll show it to you when I have the finished product ready to go on the smoker. I want to make sure that nothing is touching the side walls, so it's centered in there. And we're going to let it go. So these are all those fat trimmings. I'm rendering them down to make all this gorgeous beef tallow, which I will be using in the cook later on. You'll see what I'm going to do with it when it's time to wrap it in the butcher paper. All right, here we are checking it for the first time. It's been about an hour. You can already see it's starting to get some really great color. And you can see the juices coming out. And we're going to give it its first spray. And I use apple cider vinegar and beef stock. And the reason why we spray is because this is such a big piece of meat, we want to make sure that the outer bark forms, but we also don't want it to cook too quickly because it's going to take a long time for the inside to cook. So we want to make sure that the outer bark doesn't kind of burn up well before the inside cooks. So spraying it down does two things. First of all, it helps to form the bark, but it also helps to cool it down a little bit. So it helps to even out the inner and outer cooking. Okay, now we're coming to the tricky part, because on a brisket, I'm really looking for a crust, that bark, but you're going to have to get to a place where you wrap it to really let it continue to smoke, or to cook. Once you wrap it, it's no longer taking on any more smoke. So the color is really close to the way I like it. The internal temperature is now down to almost 170. That's where it starts to hit a stall, where it kind of sits there for a long time. The wrapping helps to push it through that stall and continue to cook. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and pull it, wrap it up. I'm going to use that beef tallow, and I'll show you how I do that. That continues to give it some additional moisture while it's cooking. And let's move to that step next. All right, now you get a better picture of that beautiful color. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the probes, because I don't want them poking out of the butcher paper. And remember, the fat side is still down. This is the fat side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it fat side up now. I'm going to pour my tallow over the top of it. Just a little bit of extra fat. And what this is going to do is it's going to add that moisture that we really are going to want once it's in the wrap. Not a ton. I got a cup and a third out of those trimmings. I want to wrap it as tightly as I possibly can. So now the fat side is down, back up, down, back up. Now it's pretty tight. It is sealed off on the ends. Now I'm going to stick the probes back in. So now that it's back in, we're not really smoking it anymore. It's taken all the smoke it can with the wrapping. So this is going to be wide open. Same thing with the air intake underneath. And so it's going to crank up the heat, because there's going to be a lot more oxygen getting to that fire. And it'll get over 300, probably closer to 350, maybe even higher. And that'll push it through the stall, and it'll push it to be cooked. And all that extra fat that I just added, that's going to be able to help it essentially steam in its own juices. So the readings on the probes are that one probe is at 205, actually 206. The other one is almost to 205. And what I'm doing is I'm probing, not as much for temperature, but that too, but also for feel. I want to see, does it feel like it's soft? This should feel like as easy as going through butter. I have to be careful not to go all the way through, because I don't want to poke through the bottom of it and let the juices leak out. But it is absolutely, oh my gosh, it is no resistance whatsoever. So it is time to go ahead and pull it. I'm going to leave it in there for a minute, get my bins to put it in, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to put this in my handy dandy grip easy sleeve to start resting. And I'm going to stick it in the oven not on, but just in a cold oven, and let it rest for 2 hours. And there it is. And it'll be there for 2 hours. And the purpose of letting it rest is so that the juices can basically redistribute throughout the meat. When it's hot, it's still basically a muscle that's trying to push all the juices out. And if you cut into it too soon, you're going to lose all that juice and it's going to get dry very quickly. So that's the purpose of letting it rest. Here's the moment of truth. This has been resting now for over 2 hours. And we are going to open this up to see all the juice that's in there. And that's a lot. So we know it's juicy. And I'm taking out the probes. And let's unwrap this thing and see how we have done. Look at that. That is outrageously good looking. Incredibly juicy. That jiggle means that it is nice and soft. So we've done what we needed to do as far as the cook. Let's see how soft it is when I cut into it. All right, remember that there is the point and the flat. And the two have grains that run differently. So I'm going to cut right into the middle of it. God, that's just as soft as can be. Look at that. That is just as juicy and glistening as can be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate. This is all the flat. And the key to figuring out if a brisket is as soft as you want it to be is when you hold it up, if it bends like that. And that is exactly what you want it to be. And then the pull test just pulls right apart. And now let's go for the taste. Let's see what it's like. Wow. Success. That's absolutely a perfect brisket. I didn't mess it up. Always something that's on the back of every barbecue cook's mind. So I'm going to go ahead and start slicing this up and placing it in the pan. But let's take a look at this point too and see how well we did. Now the point runs a little, the grain runs a little bit of a different direction. So I'm going to separate the remainder of the flat from here and slice along here. Follow that line of fat. So this is the remainder of the flat. And this goes along with this part. This is the point, and I'm going to slice it. Remember, this is the fattier. This is what they make burnt ends out of. And you can see it's a looser looking grain. Let's see what this is like. Absolutely perfect. All right. This is so much fun to do if you get it right. If you don't, you can always chop it up and mix it with some sauce. Make an awful lot of chopped beef sandwiches, but this is fantastic. Adam and Judith, this one's for you. I hope you enjoy it. And for the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed watching how to smoke a brisket. I think this is one of the best briskets I've ever smoked. So that's all the lean. That's all the moist.